I suspect foul play. Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast. This is episode 104, and we're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. I am your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Before we get started with the movie discussion, let's go around and meet the fellow bros joining me today. We start with the American hero, Nate Thurmond. Nate, let me pose a hypothetical to you, all right? You have to choose between Betty White, Margot Robbie, and myself, and one of us will be killed. Who are you willing to sacrifice?
Wow, that is a tough call, and Horns, I hate to do this to you, but...
No, you don't.
You're right, I don't. You're dead, I'm sorry. Betty White is getting up there. I'm pretty sure she's close to the century mark, and I kind of want to see her make it to it. And then Margot Robbie, there's no way I could harm her head.
I didn't have high hopes to beat Margot Robbie out, but let me play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
So you save Betty White over me, and let's say wherever you're at, Betty White dies the next day of natural causes. I mean, then wouldn't you kind of feel like you made the wrong decision?
I know Cycling is shaking his head, but I would feel a little bad, yeah. If she didn't get to 100 and then I sacrificed you for it, I might feel a little guilty.
Actually, then it would just be you and Margot Robbie. That might be your fucking plan all along.
Dun, dun,
See, Horns, your best days are behind you, so Betty White could still surprise us. That's all.
True. I peaked in like 4th grade, and it was a low floor, low ceiling type situation.
Yeah, summer of '96 was really good.
The voice you just heard was our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli. Now, Cycli, my ex-wife Rachel keeps sending me love letters, but she's talking really fancy talk in them. I'm assuming one of the romance languages, and keeps using the phrase cease and desist. Can you translate that for me?
Yeah, cease and desist is actually quite a beautiful Aramaic phrase from Jesus' language about true love and passion. And so it's really calling you out to come closer. She's acting like she doesn't want you, but she's playing hard to get. She wants to see how much you love her. And we're not just saying this so you come and break the restraining order and we finally get you in jail. That's definitely not what's happening.
I knew it. So what she's saying is I'm not being aggressive enough or I'm not showing my love for her enough.
Yeah, you need to prove it. Absolutely.
Like a big, grand gesture.
Violently, perhaps.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Violently, perhaps. All right, the first thing the Bro 4 Squad podcast starts every one of our episodes off with is the most important topic in any bro's life, and that's chess day. And today we want to talk about some of the top directors going in Hollywood currently, and most notably the ones who have sort of shown an ability to cross over genres and still crush it. Now, this isn't just exclusive to award season, so maybe not even just critically acclaimed directors, but it sort of seems to be a trend among some of the more badass filmmakers the past few years that having both a background or some history of having comedic chops and the sensibility to do drama or sort of more gritty material is not the anomaly that it once was. So, Nate, I'll actually toss it to you first, and we'll just see where this goes, because this was kind of your idea. So, versatile directors in Hollywood, guys that maybe used to do comedy, who knows if they'll ever do it again, but have now shown an ability to surprise us with their dramatic chops. Who jumps off the page to you?
Yeah, so there's obviously one that kind of stands out, which I'll get to in a second, but most recently and kind of top of mind just because of award season and all that is Todd Phillips, obviously, with all of his comedic genius in Old School, The Hangover, which have always been great, and I love his little cameos that he makes in them because they're so memorable.
I'm here for the gangbang?
Yeah, I'm here for the gangbang. And then him getting head on the elevator and The Hangover.
I think he did Road Trip also, right?
I have to fact check that. I'm not sure.
And I also think he did Due Date with Zach Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr.
Oh. I'll take your word for that one as well.
I wouldn't lie to you.
I didn't do my research. But then obviously this year coming out with the Joker. So a pretty big genre shift.
Wait, Joker wasn't a comedy? I mean, the name
Joker is Joker. Okay, stop calling me out. I didn't do any research on this. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know.
Another movie. He also did Starsky and Hutch. Now let me look it up. So he has a hell of a list.
Wow.
Starsky and Hutch, very underrated comedy in my opinion too.
Very underrated.
Yes.
Two Dragons. God damn it. We have the same fucking brain.
Yes.
So A movie that he might, and I didn't see this movie because I heard horrible things about it, but between The Hangover Part 3, which was in 2013,
Yeah.
and Joker, which was obviously this past year, he did that movie War Dogs with Jonah Hill and Miles Teller. So maybe that was him sort of taking one foot out of the comedy pool and dipping it into the drama while keeping a toe or two in the waters of levity and humor.
Wait, was War Dogs not critically liked?
I didn't see good things about it, but
I enjoyed it. It entertained me. I thought it was a decent movie for what it was worth. But yeah, going along with that, he went along such a long comedy career and then broke out with that, and then broke out with Joker. So yeah, you're seeing that a lot. Obviously, one of the other big ones recently with Get Out and Us is Jordan Peele. Started off with Key and Peele and all of his comedy accolades. Now, I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen Us because I don't really like scary movies like that. I'm a bit of a pussy when it comes to that. I did see Get Out because it was a little less scary in that fact. It was a little more tame. Get Out was amazing, but it just shows that there's some really good directors out there with some great directing chops. And they can just go all over the place. A great director is just becoming a great director. It's not like, oh, they're good comedy, they're a good horror director, like back in the day with Alfred Hitchcock or whatever you want to.
If you ask Cycly, Us is pretty tame and laid back. And then you get...
I'm sorry. I messed up.
30 minutes into the movie with your fiance who he sold to go see it and someone gets their face fucking cut off. I've been apologizing to you probably every day for 6 months, man. I think it's hilarious. My fiance
haven't seen
Cycly!
I get a text message from Horn saying, "What the fuck, man?" He said it wasn't scary, and I was like, "I don't remember it being scary." I asked my wife; she said it wasn't scary, and then he proceeds to tell me of certain scenes, and I immediately was like, "Oh shit, I fucked up."
I thought it was hilarious because I was fine with that, but my fiance wasn't.
And then I know Horns has some good ones coming up, but then my honorable mention was Taika Waititi with Jojo Rabbit recently, and then he's obviously doing 2 of the Thor movies. So obviously some comedy mixed in with the superhero, but still shows his versatility and some of the things he has coming out as well, like kind of a documentary comedy style about the New Zealand football team in 2014. And then he's also had some other kind of poignant drama comedy movies as well that came out. So he's kind of one of those up and comers that's kind of showing some versatility as well.
So have either of you seen, I believe it was his first directorial film, What We Do in the Shadows?
I haven't.
I don't think so.
Okay, Cycly, you would love this. It's like a mockumentary about a group of vampires who live in modern day Brooklyn, New York. And it's like them.
Can no one tell them apart from hipsters?
Basically not. But Taika Waititi directed, wrote it, and he is one of the vampires. He was also behind Flight of the Conchords, if you guys remember.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Yeah, I have to check that out.
And so Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords he's one of his roommate vampires in it. As Taika Waititi's character describes him in the trailer, he plays Jermaine Clement plays a vampire named Vladislav, and he goes, "There's Vladislav, he's sort of the bad boy of the group." And it shows him like trying to get them into a nightclub, and he's like, it's not working.
I need to go watch that. I've seen that clip before. That looked pretty funny.
Yeah, he's sort of the bad boy of the group. I don't know. It looked fucking hilarious. But before you know Taika Waititi's directorial style, I could see people seeing that movie like, dude, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Get this out of my face.
Yeah, and then if it's streaming anywhere?
That's a great question. I do not.
I need to look that up. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Try looking it up on your phone.
You dumbass.
What
if we were that mean to each other? This says it's on Prime Video, but I don't know if that means it's for rent or... I'm not sure.
No, that's awesome.
Now we'll figure it out.
Great ones, Thurman. Cycly, who do you have? It's jumping off the page.
Well, I'm going to jump to my honorable mention, and it's a director who doesn't really have much of a filmography, but I just recently, Horns and I just recently watched a film, The Velocipaster. Brennan Steer, I just want to mention this really quickly. I won't say too long on him, but if you see the movie Velocipaster, which is for free on Amazon Prime, it hits every single genre you can imagine. And there's horror, there's comedy, there's ninjas. There's romance. So props to him for being as diverse as he possibly can in one film. So go watch that.
I want to not only invite Brendan Steer on the pod, but basically give him like an open invite, because based on the sensibility, both comedically and quote unquote dramatically in that movie, he is of the same ilk that we are, like very like-minded people. Because once Cycling and I realized what he was trying to do with that film, about 15 to 20 minutes in, I think everything in it worked.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into this a little later.
So, Cycling, with your kind of genre crossover, you're saying that it brings a lot to the table. There's horror, comedy, all this. Would you compare it to Parasite?
No, it's better. I mean, it doesn't even compare. Parasite doesn't compare.
Yeah, because how does Parasite incorporate softcore porn?
Damn it! You got me. You got me there. You got me.
It was the one component missing.
Well, so close to a perfect porn. Yeah, we almost got
the couch scene. I don't know.
The couch scene, yeah.
It's true, which I'm so confused about. Oh, buy me drugs. Thing.
So on to my real directors. I mean, not that Steer isn't a real director. So the first one I had was Danny Boyle. I find him kind of fascinating. He might not be the biggest director, but I mean, his filmography is pretty diverse. I mean, you really think about, he has a horror out there, 28 Days Later. It's not really well known, but he has a sci-fi movie called Sunshine, which I think is fantastic.
I love Sunshine. I'm the only one on the pod, I think, who's seen it and talked about it.
Yeah, it's fantastic, but no one really knows about it. I watched it in college. And then, he did Trainspotting, which is a perfect blend of this comedy / drug addiction and, horrifying type movie. And then what else did he do? Slumdog Millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
Steve Jobs,
127 Hours. So he's just kind of like, he consistently makes really good movies. Like, he may not have won any really. Well, I think he did one.
Well, he did my favorite movie or second favorite movie of the year last year in Yesterday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he just seems to be extremely well rounded, and in every movie he does, he's like kind of a quiet hit. Like, he makes good movies.
Have you seen T2, the sequel to Trainspotting?
No, I don't even know there was a sequel to Trainspotting.
Yeah, it came out. Let me look at the year here.
Did he do it?
Yeah, 2017. He directed it. Everybody's back. Ewan McGregor, Bremer, Johnny Lee Miller. Yeah. You didn't know this?
I had no idea where I was in 2016. I clearly was passed out for the entire year.
Probably because you were, life imitates art. You were like the guys in.
Was it like critically acclaimed? I mean, I had no idea about this.
It has a 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb, which, I mean, take that for what you will. So it's not atrocious.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got to give props to Danny Boyle. I think he's great. I have another one, Alfonso Cuarón, who always stuck out to me because he took Harry Potter. He took the third Harry Potter movie from Chris Columbus and took it to a more serious, darker place. And I think he really set the tone for the rest of the series. And it was interesting to bring him on to what arguably at that point was still a kid's or, young adult type movie and book, because he was kind of known for kind of gritty, raw stuff. I know he had a Spanish film that involved, a threesome. That was what he was known for before he came on to Harry Potter. And then he did Children of Men.
He did Roma, Gravity. Yeah, the dude's a fucking animal.
So Children of Men is fucking dark, but it's amazing. Like, honestly, it's a really heavy film.
One of the best, like, single shot, like 1917, I think, took an homage from that one scene.
Yeah, and that scene is all you need to know about that movie. But if you don't know that movie, it's basically humanity can't have children anymore. And so that's why it's so dark. Humanity's dying. Yeah, and then you mentioned it. I thought Roma last year could have and should have maybe been the first foreign language film to win Best Movie. I'm not saying Parasite didn't deserve it. It obviously did. We all talked about that on the pod. But I felt like this was almost a makeup for Roma not winning last year. So
can I say something that may sound weird? Roma was in black and white, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that really hurt it. Like, it's an artistic choice, I get it, but that, in a weird way, that makes a film so much less accessible and almost just seem inherently pretentious, even if it's way off base.
Do you know what else hurt it, in my opinion? Being a Netflix.
Yeah, I guess there was still kind of that stigma, which it dissipated a lot in a year.
Yeah, but, sure. I mean, we still didn't see the win that Netflix is going for with this year with the You know, all the films
Did
they
have
had
two
this year.
nominees, right?
Yeah. So they're getting Netflix is getting nominations. It's just hasn't won. The Irishman and Marriage Story. So it's almost there. And so my last director, I wanted to throw in a little controversy here. This is gonna be a fun one. I'm gonna throw in Rian Johnson. Ryan with an I.
All right, pod's over. Thanks everybody.
All right, it was
now
great.
I'm not saying I'm a fan, as you guys may know if you've heard me talk about him on the pod. But when we're talking about directors who really do kind of a diverse set of movies and genres, we all know, Last Jedi, a lot of people love it, a lot more people hate it. I just watched Knives Out. I was going to mention that.
I quoted it off the top.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that was perfect. I loved it. It was an extremely fun movie, but it's very different from The Last Jedi.
I've had to hide my face on the pod for loving Knives Out because I.
Well, I was going to mention it later too, but that's and so if you go back to his beginning when he started becoming a director, he did this really gritty like raw film called Brick in 2005. And then if you know Looper. But what I wanted to talk about Rian Johnson was actually not a movie, but it was a show. It's Breaking Bad. He arguably did two of the most just opposite episodes. If you ever watch Breaking Bad, there's this episode called Fly. And it's very controversial in the sense that not a lot happens, but basically Jesse and Mr. White are in their laboratory making meth, and they're trying to kill a fly. The whole episode revolves around them trying to kill a fly. Mm-hmm. And it's just like so artistically beautiful, but it just caused a lot of division in the fan base because nothing really happened. Now, they had a lot of conversation and stuff. But then he goes on to film arguably, and not really controversial, the greatest episode in all of Breaking Bad, which is Ozymandias. And and maybe the most action-packed.
I love that, Nate, by the way.
Yeah, I just want to slide that in somewhere.
It's if you know Breaking Bad, it's literally as opposite from The Fly as you can get. It's nonstop action. Just the story culminates to its end. It's not the end, but it does in that sense. So I just wanted to mention, like, as I'm not a fan of him for what he did to Star Wars. I also don't think it's completely his fault, like Disney's. But he is, if you really want to look at him, diverse and can kind of hit every genre.
If you also want to look at him, he looks like a hobbit.
And he spells his name with an I. Come on.
Did he direct The Hobbit? That would have been great.
No, he started it.
You can't direct the movie based on your own life, Nate. It seems like a conflict of interest, right?
Damn it. Okay.
He would keep putting the Shire in a light that it's not really should be shown. I will say this. God, I cannot believe I'm about to defend Rian Johnson.
I know. It's hard.
But the more that has come out about how Kathleen Kennedy handled the new trilogy, the better he kind of looks, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was basically a shit show. Now, it doesn't help that he thought it would be kind of funny to singe every single loose thread that JJ had left there and just kind of walk away as the building is burning to the ground. But a higher up person had to, at the end of the day, let him do that.
Yeah, and why didn't they just have a consistent director or a consistent story? That's still on the production team and the writers.
I don't know. But I did really like Knives Out. I honestly haven't seen Looper. Apparently he has some fascination. Maybe him and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are fucking or something. Because Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in Brick and Looper.
Yeah. Brick is actually really good. It's just not... It feels like a guy who just got out of college and made the film. It's great, but it's definitely worth watching if you have.
Brick is a great song by Ben Folds. Anyone wants to...
Rian Johnson also wrote that song.
Great building material.
God damn it. I love how you say that, like, if you haven't heard of this brick.
Yeah. This new invention, guys.
Someone's at home, like, looking to add on an extension to their house. Like, hang on, rewind. What was the thing he said? That we could use?
Was that
how do you spell that?
It sounded real sturdy.
All right, two that I have. This one won't be a surprise to anybody. And this guy... I don't want to say as controversial as Rian Johnson, but he's definitely gotten more political or outspoken with his movies. But that's Adam McKay, who obviously is the right-hand man of Will Ferrell. They worked together on a ton of movies: Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, both Anchormans, The Other Guys, which was kind of the start of his transition from comedy to more serious fare. Because The Other Guys, if you go back and rewatch it. It has a lot of really, really serious financial corruption undertones. Like, there's a lot of like Derek Jeter's basically whole cameo is like speaking about corporate greed and like how Wall Street has influenced the economy so great over the past few decades. But of course, then he went and did The Big Short and Vice. So, two movies that he still found a way to inject his. I'm trying to think. Does Vice has some fourth wall breaking moments, right?
Yes.
Okay, because The Big Short, it has like a couple scenes, like the one obviously of Margot Robbie in the hot tub explaining like what shorting the market means, which no one paid attention to because it was Margot Robbie in a hot tub. But I appreciate what he's trying to do.
Yes, thank you. All the blood
Is she
rushed to
speaking?
another body part.
Yeah, and then Vice, I do remember Vice had like the fake out ending, like 40 minutes in where the credits roll.
And they're all happy.
Right, the credits rolled for like 30 seconds. I'm like, this is going from funny to not funny to we're actually now back to funny.
The Family Guy effect, yeah.
Right. So Adam McKay is kind of an obvious one. I think he's more so probably than anybody we've mentioned today. Maybe is more like it's more debatable whether you think he's succeeded dramatically as much as he has comedically because his dramatic movies still have Vice much less probably than The Big Short, but they still have a very comedic feel to them. Mm-hmm. And he's cast Steve Carell in both of them too, which is always like that's brick you're putting in your movie again. Another one, and this guy, like, I don't know if he just got away from his brother finally, and he's like, all right, now I'm a fucking real director, but Peter Farrelly of the Farrelly Brothers. So listen to the movies that he's done comedically, and then like all these comedic movies, and then
this is great.
He did Green Book 2 years ago, which obviously won an Oscar. He did Dumb and Dumber, Kingpin, There's Something About Mary, Me, Myself, and Irene, Osmosis Jones, Shallow Hal, Stuck on You, which of course is the movie where Greg Kinnear and Matt Damon are Siamese twins. No way you could make that fucking movie.
It's a documentary, man.
Fever Pitch, The Heartbreak Kid, which I know Nate and I are like
underrated.
Part of the cult following of.
Oh yeah, love that movie.
Hall Pass, and then he did. I'm not even kidding you. If we did our worst 10 movies of the last decade, both of these would be in my list. He did The Three Stooges, and then Movie 43. Didn't you guys see that?
No.
I almost walked out of the theater, dude. It was fucking.
You paid to see it?
I don't remember where I was at in my life. Probably a dark place.
I remember I watched a couple of clips online, and I just couldn't even. Nothing but cringe. I mean, have you read about that movie? How they were able to manipulate all these stars to be in it because the stars had no idea what it was.
How did they sign onto a movie they don't know what it is?
Yeah, you should read about it. Like some of the actors were pissed when they found out like what it was for. They thought it was like a sketch show or something. So like, yeah, it's read the Wikipedia page for movie 43.
It's the worst film I've ever seen, and you can go watch it in clips because it's like just random. Like it's like 8 short films put together that have no continuity whatsoever. Then he did Dumb and Dumber 2, which I tried to get through on an airplane. I got through about 8 minutes of it, had to stop. And then he decides, all right, I'm actually like a genius fucking director. Let me cast Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali and do Green Book in 2018.
Mind blown.
How I have to honestly wonder, not that because Green Book was great, but how did the production company hire him for this role? Right? How did they say you're the director right? After seeing your filmography? Because yes, he pulled it off, but how did he get the job in the first place?
And let's be honest, and Nate and I are in the minority here, but depending how you feel about Hall Pass, which came out in 2011, because The Heartbreak Kid was 2007, when you cast him in Green Book, he might not have had a good movie since 1998 in There's Something About Mary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So is Green Book the last movie he's done?
Yeah.
To date. So it's really funny at this point in time. His bookends of movies are literally his best 2 movies. They're very drastically different.
I kind of want to see, let me see if he has anything else on the docket. Because if not, I mean, dude, just ride off in the sunset with this.
Yeah, so, Dumb and Dumber. Right, one of the most iconic comedies of the 90s, and then Green Book.
So I was listening to NPR like 2 years ago or whenever Green Book came out or a year ago, and they were talking about Green Book, and they were talking to the director. And they go, Peter Farrelly, director. And I go, I was driving and I go, There's no way that's the same guy. The guy just happens to have the same name
Right.
as the Dumb and Dumber guy. He's not one of the Farrelly brothers. Like, that's, I didn't believe it. And then I looked online and fuck, all right, good for him.
And I don't know what made him decide to make the change. I'm trying to see what his brother Bobby Farrelly has done. Like, if he's decided to get into the directing game. No, he stuck to it. He did most of those movies with him. Have you guys seen any of the show Trailer Park Boys?
People always tell us to watch it.
Yeah, he did 4 episodes of that, but his brother Bobby's like, Peter, it's kind of fucked up. You're like serious about this now. I thought we were just messing around. I don't know. When I saw Peter Farrelly's, though, I thought his filmography, it was just like this. I don't know if he had like a come to Jesus moment or what happened, but yeah, to cycle to your point, how did the studio have the ball? Maybe balls isn't even the right word. In hindsight, even it's still idiotic they let him do that movie, Green Book. I mean, it paid off tremendously.
There's no way they knew. There's no way. Maybe they just didn't believe in the film. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Or he just knew somebody and was able to bribe his way on.
I wonder if Mahershala Ali was like, is there a scene where like my fucking tongue is going to get stuck to like the outside of the car or something? He's like, no, it's like a real movie. There's not like a monkey that's going to show up. You and Viggo Mortensen aren't going to be like surgically attached to each other or anything.
Okay,
if you could get him,
which one of us is going to get X-Lax?
Now that you're saying all this,
if you could get either of those actors, could you imagine trying to convince either of those actors to do a scene like that? It'd be incredible to pull off.
You imagine Mahershala Ali in the middle of playing the piano and just starts unequivocally shitting his pants and he can't control it.
I would actually watch that movie just to see.
You know who could pull that off? Brendan Steer.
God, the king. Come on the pod, Brendan.
Brendan Steer's listening at home right now. He's like, yes, I could. And if you fucking let me on your podcast, I'll pitch it to you. If your mom's friend, Brendan, won't give you $35,000 to make that movie, Cycling and I'll start crowdsource funding for you.
Oh, my God. $35,000 to fly to Latvia or wherever it was.
Anything you guys want to add before we move on to a protein shake?
Negative.
Perfect.
Let's do this.
All right, our protein shake is the second part of our show, and that's where we go around and talk about what is in our cup, also known as what have we watched lately. Nate, let's start with you. What have you seen lately? And if you don't want to do it all, we can come back around.
No, yeah, I'll kind of just run through this quickly. I've got a few things on here. I kind of start off with what shows I've been watching lately. The Outsider, the HBO special with Jason Bateman. It's great. I'll try and not give too many spoilers away, but it's based on a Stephen King novel. So it does get a little more, not sci-fi, but a little more, I don't know, metaphysical, I guess is maybe the right word for that. Outside of the normal human realm than I would like, but it's still a really great show. It kicks off really fast. First 2 episodes are amazing. But then it holds you throughout the rest of the season. I think we're on episode 7 right now. I think they've got 10. But if you're not watching it, get on it. It's really great.
Let me ask you this. Where this is probably impossible to do till you see all of it. But in terms of how hooked you are, rank this, True Detective season 3 and Westworld season 1.
So this one's probably the top between those 3.
Whoa!
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow! Bold.
Yeah, I think we started this late, so we had like 4 episodes we could catch up on, and it kept me up past my bedtime, which I normally don't do on one night because I had to watch another episode of it. But it hooks you fast, and the first couple of episodes are really great. Jason Bateman does a great job in them. Another HBO show getting into right now, which is still on, McMillions, which is the documentary on the McDonald's scandal with the Monopoly game, which is really crazy.
Do we know?
Basically a decade long where none of the winners were legit.
I knew I was getting fucked over. I told Banner this. I could always get. Is it Boardwalk you can get, but never Park Place, or the other way
I
around?
thought it was Park Place. I remember getting Park Place, but maybe we should have just teamed up.
Yeah,
No.
I can't remember. Yeah, I think Boardwalk was the tough one to get.
I would. Yeah, that you always get Park Place. Every fucking large fry has Park Place on it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's
So
pretty crazy.
how many episodes is this?
I don't know how many. This is 3 are out right now. I'm only 2 in. But yeah, it's really good. There's this fucking bro ass FBI agent on there, Doug, who's hilarious. Who actually Horns reminds me of one of my old roommates, Travis. So if you do end up watching, just think of that while you're watching him. It's hilarious.
So Banner got in some hot water last episode because he said he wanted to kill him, and we were like, "Well, he's a member of law enforcement." He was like, "All right, I don't want to kill him. He's just annoying me."
So yeah, he's like super high energy, kind of bro.
He's like pumped to be in a documentary.
He's not a bad dude. Yeah, he's not a bad dude. It's funny to watch him.
That sounds like how you describe someone when you're about to introduce them to a group of people and you know there might be some issues.
Oh, 100%. He's not a bad dude. He's not a bad dude.
He means well. He's harmless.
Yeah, he means well. And that's basically what Doug is in this show, is he means well.
Sorry, one more question. Is Doug on there because like he uncovered this conspiracy? Because I don't know if I can deal with his vanity of like, yeah, I fucking figured it out. Or is he just like talking about, was he just on the case?
He actually had a pretty big part in like unraveling this and kind of going undercover and like revealing some of the people and showing how they were cheating the system. So
is going undercover just going to a McDonald's and
it's a little more than that.
I want another Big Mac. I'm undercover.
Yeah, I'm wondering, you'll have to report back when you're done, because I'm wondering if this, because I was wondering why they just got rid of this promotion for, like, it was like an annual thing, right? It was like every year back when we were kids.
Oh, they had it for like 10, 12 years straight. Yeah, back in the 90s. Yeah, but yeah, there's some, there's not to give too many spoilers away, there's some mafia ties and some other things, but it's pretty crazy. No, it's worth the watch.
I want the mafia out of my Big Macs.
Yeah. And then the last TV or streaming show I'm watching right now, which all 3 of these, and I'm just now realizing, are kind of I'm right in the middle of the season. Is Sex Education on Netflix. I know Banner watched the first season. Second season just dropped within the past month. We're a couple episodes into it. Still really funny. Great British high school comedy about kids and kind of their sexual activity, but it's really good. Second season.
Yeah, say it a different way. A show about kids and their sexual activity.
Well, sexual angst, like American Pie. I love the show.
No, I know. I was kidding. Yeah.
No, that's actually a really good point, Horns, because there's some different sexual angst views that really aren't. I haven't seen like any other TV shows or movies or anything. It's kind of funny how they put a spin on it.
Now, Nate, real quick, let me ask you this, because this is kind of a debate that we've been having for like the past 6 months. So the previous 2 shows you mentioned, obviously on HBO, and even though you started a little bit behind on The Outsider, it is week to week. I'm assuming Sex Education, like pretty much every show except for like The Circle on Netflix, is released all at once. Yeah. Which viewing experience do you prefer? Or is it, since Sex Education is so much different from like The Outsiders, is it an apples to oranges comparison?
Yeah, I know, and we've had this discussion on pod before, and I don't know. I don't know if I prefer one over the other as far as a viewing experience, but I can't deny that your perception of the show is crazy how drastically it can change how you consume it. Especially because we've talked about this with True Detective. If you watch it episode to episode, week to week, you kind of go along with it. You're waiting for things. But then if you consume every episode within like a 2 to 3 day span, everything's more fresh that next time that new episode starts. So it's really interesting how it can change your view of the show. I don't really have a preferred method, but I know that's one of the things that is really interesting about consuming episodes whenever they're not just all delivered at once.
I think about the time you guys came over to my apartment, and it was like 2 a.m. and we were blacked out drunk, and we went back to Like True Detective was in the middle of its season 3.
Oh my god!
And we went back to the previous episode, and you had like this recollection of like something in the background, and we paused it at like the 48-minute, 11-second mark. That would never happen when a show is released all at once, and I don't want to rob us of that.
Yeah,
I don't think.
That's a very good point. We spent like an hour on that, just focusing on like one 10-second scene. It was amazing.
Which, like, obviously, if it's all dropped at once, like, you have your resolution as soon as you're willing to click and play next episode. And I saw on Reddit that Netflix's autoplay was being taken away, or you had an option to turn it off. I can't fucking figure out how to do it.
We figured it out.
It's not the autoplay; it's the auto trailer when you're scrolling.
That's just as important, because that's really pissing me off.
It's more important.
See, I'm in both because it's like eating a whole bag of potato chips, right? It's like your body's like, yeah, eat it all now, and then you do it, and you're like upset about it afterwards, right? Like,
yeah.
Whereas like when I watch a show, I'm so pumped about finishing it, and then when it's over, you're like, fuck, it's over, you know. But when it's spread out, you don't appreciate it. But you also 2 months later, you're happy you're still watching it, right? So
yeah,
like,
sure.
I just move from show to show. You almost forget what you watched 2 months ago.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about, like, will Netflix adapt to HBO or Disney Plus's model, but I kind of like, at least right now, that one of the streaming services has a different model.
Yeah.
I think they need to keep it because it gives them a different path.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Nate? Or you want to save those last 3? We can come right back around to you.
So I'm just gonna run through these real quick. It's 3 movies I've seen recently. 1917, awesome, really coolly shot, great war movie. Parasite, check out the review we did on that, amazing movie, great foreign film flick. And then Peanut Butter Falcon, which is kind of the outlier here. Great Shia LaBeouf film. A story about a kid with Down syndrome who is in a retirement home because that's the only place they can find for him. He breaks out, and him and Shia LaBeouf form a relationship and kind of get a Tom Sawyer Huckleberry Finn feel with them floating down the river. But good flick for sure.
Is that who he? Is that the same? Okay, because I've heard about this movie. I've heard it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. But is that who Shia LaBeouf came and awarded? Like, was the presenter for that award?
Yes. Yep.
I had no idea what that was about.
Yep.
Okay, that makes so much more sense.
Is he? Did he direct this too? I don't know why I
wrote it and directed. I think.
That's a great question. I know he's really tied into it. So
I know he wrote and directed Honey Boy about himself.
I'm all about the Shia LaBeouf redemption. I'm big fan.
A guy named Tyler Nilson wrote and directed it, but he kind of looks like Shia LaBeouf, if that counts.
But yeah, that's the one I kind of wanted to hit on. The other 2, 1917, obviously a great film, and then Parasite. Those are some of the other 2s I watched recently. So next,
real quick, looking at the cast of Peanut Butter Falcon, did not know it went this deep, man. We got Thomas Hayden Church, Dakota Johnson, my boy John Bernthal, John Hawkes, incredible character actor. Yep. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, pretty good little cast there.
This lady, Susan McPhail.
Oh, hello.
Get in line, fellas.
What a looker.
One at a time. All right, so what have you seen lately? What's in your cup?
So I'll rush through some of the movies that like you just did, Nate. Parasite as well, as you know, because we were all on that review together. 1917 as well. Rewatched Midsummer for the first time in a long time. And as I've mentioned,
third time watching it?
Third time ever. And I think I've liked it more every single time. The reason I watched it again was because my sister watched it for the first time and was talking about it and all the things that she loved about it, and it made me want to watch it again. So, I absolutely loved it. Again.
I just remember, so I heard about this movie. I have AMC A-List, keep bragging about it. They need to fucking sponsor us. I saw it over the summer with like me and one other guy in the theater, and I called you like the second I left.
Like, dude, the bond you get from watching that movie.
I know, and so you and I, till we die, will always have. I did a list at the end of the year. It was 5 movies I saw this year that Matt Geiger will never see in his life, and Midsummer was the number1 film on that list.
So can all I want to say about it is like, go ahead, Nate.
Oh, I was going to say Parasite may take over the #1 spot.
It's #1 for 2020, guaranteed.
Yeah.
All I want to say really quickly about Midsummer, because I'm not sure. I think Jeff, you and I did talk about it on pod, but I just want to reiterate: it's a shame that it didn't get nominated for any Oscar. Now, I'm not sitting here saying it should have won, but because I think the type of the A24 production company, which kind of does really indie, artsy, out there type films, this was really dark. The Oscars I don't think likes portraying some of those type movies,
which doesn't like talking out of both sides of their mouth. So anyway, it's a whole other issue.
Well, what I wanted to say is, one, it deserved a nomination for original screenplay, but the main point is Florence Pugh, who got a nomination for Little Women. I don't think it's even close that she was 100 times better in Midsummer. I mean, it's not even a controversial take.
It's her movie, man.
And it's her movie. It's not just her movie. I mean, she makes the movie. And it's absurd to me that she got, I mean, she didn't get recognized for that, but she got recognized for Little Women. I mean, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just wanted to give my piece on it.
I totally agree with you. Two things real quick. Florence Pugh, hell of a 7-month stretch because she is also Black Widow's sister in the Black Widow.
Oh, shit. That is right.
Because of course Marvel has a fucking eye for talent. Second off, guess who she's dating in real life?
Who?
Zach Braff.
All right, I can dig that. I'm a big Scrubs fan, so I'll take that.
But here's my issue, Cycly. If she's dating Zach Braff, how can she date me?
Yeah, goddamn, man. Moved to Utah.
She's in Utah?
I know. I just moved to Utah. You can date multiple partners there.
Third thing about Florence Pugh, have you ever seen her do an interview?
No, honestly, like, I don't think I've ever seen, like, she could be, I don't know, Scottish for all I know.
Yeah, she's from England. She has a very strong
I was
accent.
literally making that up.
No, it like blew. I saw her doing press for Black Widow. She's like, "Oh, it's been a phenomenal year, and I feel so blessed." And I'm like, "What?"
I am actually shocked about that. But that gives her credit. Again, Midsummer, she was fucking incredible. If you haven't seen it, and you can handle a little bit of it's not scary, and I mean that in the sense I know I messed up earlier by saying us. It's not scary. It's a mind twist. There is some fucked up shit in it, but it's worth it. So. Won't say any more about that. Just wanted to give a piece about the Oscars there.
Would you say? I have to say one more thing. Yeah. Would you say Midsummer has like one of the most well executed slow builds of any movie in the past 5 years?
In my opinion, I'm sure people disagree. I mean, I'm sure some people do disagree, but it was pretty critically acclaimed. I didn't find it slow or boring at all. Now I know. Others might.
Sorry, I meant that in a positive way. Like it slowly builds up.
That's what I mean. Like, the suspense is like the whole time you know something's going on. The whole time you know something's building to something, and you just have no idea what. And it just, I don't know, like the suspense. And again, for the third time watching it, I know everything, but the whole time I'm excited about looking in the background, watching what background characters are doing, what the trees are doing, because they're all doing something, and you actually catch stuff every single time. That you wouldn't have noticed. So I personally think the slow burn was just perfectly done. This is the same director who did Hereditary, which is horror, but he has a thing for cults and he has a thing for head injuries. But he's a master. He's done two. He's 2 for 2. I will say that. So moving on, I'm watching this show called Rami on Hulu, and it caught my eye because it won.
How do you spell that?
Ramy. It won a comedy award. I can't remember if it was the Golden Globes or the Emmys. So the reason, and it's probably not for everybody, but so I'm a first generation American. My parents were immigrants, and basically the main character is a first generation American. He was born in America, but his parents were immigrants, and it's really just kind of like it's hilarious, but just about this Egyptian American guy kind of going through life. And again, it's probably the comedy hits home for me because it's completely relatable. Because he's gone through the same stuff that I've gone through, what my parents went through. But it is like, again, it's probably for everybody. It has a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. It won awards. I absolutely recommend checking it out. If you like Master of None.
Great show.
It's very similar to Master of None.
You say this is on Hulu?
Yeah, this is on Hulu. Yeah, so it's basically, I would say, very like that's the closest show I can tell you. It is like Master of None is Aziz is an immigrant child.
Yep.
It's just basically every episode is like something that happens in his daily life. Nothing crazy, right? So
Kind of
absolutely
non sequitur type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of there is a story, but
Okay.
it's not the worst thing if like with Master of None, you can watch a random episode, and there's like a couple Master of None episodes where Aziz is in only like 5 seconds, which I love. I mean, that's one of my favorite shows on TV. I hope we get a 3rd season. So it was nice to see Rami and get critically acclaimed. So I recommend it out there. It might not be for everybody, but I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. Let's see. So I'm a big rewatch person. I get a little lazy. So I'm rewatching Scrubs. I know Jeff has mentioned Scrubs is one of my favorite shows of all time. So I got into it'd been a while. If you haven't seen Scrubs, please watch it. I don't know a show that does a better job of going straight slapstick comedy to straight emotional, like where you just almost feel like you want to cry. Scrubs is literally one of my perfect sitcom. And if you talk to actual doctors, we have a doctor who listens to this show. Talk to Dre, if you're out there listening. He's always said Scrubs is actually the most realistic doctor show there is. Because
also, Dr. Dre,
personals.
You're just one of my favorite humans ever. Yeah.
And everyone's thinking it's the rapper Dr. Dre. Unfortunately, it's not. But
no, that's what I was talking. He listens too.
Yeah. Well, maybe both Dr. Dre's listen. But so I was just saying I watched a couple of rewatches. Rewatching Scrubs, rewatching Dexter, because Dexter, if you've watched the first 4 seasons of Dexter, you know it's one of the greatest shows, and unfortunately it crashed and burned hard. It should be studied about how a show can be ruined.
Yeah, so I think I've probably mentioned this on the pod before, but still fingers crossed, and I'm holding hope that they I'm kind of torn if I want another season or I kind of just want a movie.
If they can tell you that the last season it was completely wrong and ignored, then I'm all about it. Like, I don't know how they redeem it.
Yeah.
I was going to say chronologically, and again, I had the benefit of you two and then another one of our friends telling me to stop after the Trinity season, so I did.
God, it's so good.
So to me, it's still one of the best, most untarnished shows ever.
I mean, seasons 1, 2, and 4... 3 is good too.
I even like 3, dude. I think
3 is great, but to compare it to 4 and 2 and even 1, it's just almost unfair to 3. But 3 is still great when you compare it to the last 4 seasons. Not to say there weren't still good moments in the rest of the show, but I decided to rewatch Dexter just because it's worth it. It is worth it every few years. I think it was, groundbreaking. It kind of, Horns and I have talked about the show You many times on this pod, where you feel it's interesting how it makes you root for a bad person. Yes, he's a killer, he kills bad people. But what I love about the art of storytelling, it's told in the right way, can really make you question, how you root for certain people. And Dexter does just maybe the best job of it ever. And so I want to finalize it with, so I watched 2 recent rewatches of that. And then I have decided to fall into, has anyone talked about The Witcher on the pod yet?
Thurman has, actually.
Okay, Thurman has.
Yeah, I think I brought it up once. Yeah.
Yeah, I decided to finally watch it because of
not a glowing endorsement.
Yeah.
That wasn't a glowing endorsement. Sorry, it's a great show. I love the season. I just couldn't remember if I talked about it on the pod. But anyway, go ahead.
I haven't decided how I feel about it yet. I'm like 5 episodes in. Okay. I was sold on it because everyone I know on the internet who's angry, as is myself with the last season of Game of Thrones, is loving Witcher. And everyone's saying this is what Game of Thrones should have been and this and that. It is filmed, and I know it's based on a book as well. And actually, for people who think it's
video game too, right?
Yeah, video game. It actually came before Game of Thrones books. So I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, it's Game of Thrones. No, actually, Game of Thrones might have taken from this. The way it's shot, though, and you might have talked about it, it's you don't know there's different. You don't know if there's different timelines. You haven't see the connection yet. So
and characters don't age, right? Like physically, so it makes it really difficult to tell.
I'm not there yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that Cycly is talking about is I was kind of spoiled before because someone kind of leaked at work was talking about it, and they let me know kind of what the timeline situation was. So I kind of knew going into it. But yeah, you'll get a better understanding of that probably in a couple episodes. But yeah, it'll all start lining up.
See, I feel like it's that. I feel like I don't realize how good it is until I finish it. But right now I'm struggling to decide to watch another hour-long episode.
It connects very well at the end.
But
it connects, yeah.
So I just wanted to make a comment on that because a lot of people are talking about it online. Like I said, because I think of a lot of the anger on Game of Thrones, there's a lot of similarities. So that's kind of everything
All right.
I've been watching.
Let me ask this about The Witcher. Obviously, Mission Impossible Fallout with Henry Cavill, greatest movie of all time. It's really not even up for a debate.
It's not even a controversy. Yeah.
Right, I'm not going to open the floor to that.
Find me one person who disagree with you. One. I challenge you to do that.
But what I will ask is, so Henry Cavill has kind of always gotten the benefit of the doubt with his performance as Clark Kent Superman because of, the tumultuous productions of the DCEU movies. I feel like The Witcher now is that chance. Can the guy act? I'll let you each weigh in. Nate, you first.
Yeah. I mean, I think he does a great job of portraying the role that they cast him for, playing the strong male lead, which, I mean, he's obviously done in other roles. But in this kind of, I know it's not medieval, but medieval style setting, I think he does a great job in it.
Is he like one note, or is there like any comedic elements? Like, is he just like the straight up muscle, like let me kick the door down and beat the shit out of you, or is there any more to him?
He provides some substance, and there's it's subtle hints of substance that he adds in there. For the most part, I mean, he's a pretty serious character. The job description that he's in lends him to that. But there are some scenes where he will kind of lend his way to some romance or some loving affection. But his character in and of itself doesn't show a bunch of emotion.
Didn't know he had that in him. Cycling.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to debate. I think where I'm at in the show, I think I'm 5 episodes in or 6 episodes in.
Yeah.
That is it the like his job in the show is supposed to be kind of one dimensional, at least right now.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting there going, is it because he doesn't have range, or is it no, he's just doing a good job portraying that character? Which I think it's a combination of both. There's moments because his character is so serious and is the muscle that he has like a one-liner that is actually really funny because of the person he's talking to. Clearly is not on the same level of him. So it seems like, I will say this, he does a great job for what he's doing, and he's completely selling the character to me. But I don't know if it's a product of that's just a one thing he can do, or is it a product of he's just being that good at that character?
Last question I have. Is his hair white because he's like 1,000 billion years old, or is it white because fashion, honey? Look it up.
I think it's white because of a different reason.
Oh,
where's the bell? Bing!
Yeah, fuck, Geiger. Why did we let him expense that on the company card? That's probably $3.99.
But no, legitimately, I think it's a different reason. Which I think Cycling's far enough in to, I think, kind of understand, like, he's a genetically designed species, or human. And that's why he is a Witcher. So I think that has something to do with his hair color. And then obviously early in the show, you'll see some people with differing eye colors, which is kind of contributed to that as well.
I disagree completely. I think it's fashion, honey.
There it is. Okay. We love controversy here.
God, that's what we're all about. All right. Is that all you had, Cycling?
Yeah, that's all. Yep.
All right, a few things I watched. The Netflix sequel rom-com To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You. This is the sequel to All the Boys I've Loved Before, which is a guilty pleasure Netflix romantic comedy. This one follows up directly after the first one. The first one, if you didn't see it, it's about a girl who wrote like not all these, probably like 4 or 5 love letters to boys in middle school and kept them under her bed, never sent them out. Her mother has an untimely passing to a disease in middle school, and her younger sister, once she reaches high school, decides as a prank she's going to send out her older sister's love letters and mail them to the boys.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
That's a fucking plot device, am I right?
I like it. Did you watch it on Valentine's Day?
No, but close to it. Obviously, Netflix knows what they're doing when they release this. As I've said before on the pod, and I mean this as a compliment, this movie is totally harmless. It's fun. Watch it with the missus. I had a blast with it, man. I don't know. I'm a sucker for rom-coms, and this is exactly what it's definitely above. I've deemed a lot of things on this pod as Netflix trash. It's above that echelon. This is not like some streaming service movie made to fill a quota. The acting's good. It's shot pretty well. It moves really, really quick. And it doesn't fall into like every trope. Like there's a few character decisions in here that you're like, oh, I was not expecting that from like a high school teen romance movie.
Yeah, nice.
There's nothing wrong with a romantic, like a guilty pleasure rom-com.
Yeah, get over yourself. It's like 89 minutes. Now, a movie that is not so innocent, and I might have sent you guys a Snapchat of this, Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. I'm trying to think how to put
Can I just say that Snapchat you sent was, I had no idea what the fuck you were watching. I thought it was Sharknado.
So the problem with Hobbs and Shaw is, so the Fast and Furious movies are funny because they're not great. I love them. Like, I absolutely love them. I go Thursday night every time one of them comes out. I'll go again this year. But they're so great and so much fun because they're not in on the joke. Hobbs and Shaw wants to make fun of itself with you. And it's kind of like when, like, the nerd is like, oh, I'm a fucking loser, right? And you're like, no, dude. Like, that's our job.
It's kind of like Dwight in The Office. Seems like he's always the butt of the joke, but he never knows he's the butt of the joke.
Right, and that's great. But if Dwight started becoming self-deprecating in earnest, it would totally not be fun. And Hobbs and Shaw is intent on letting you know that it knows that it's a joke, and when it does that, it's no longer fun. Like the fun is over.
Yeah,
that's probably the best way to describe it. Having said that, it's probably about 15 minutes too long, but if you're drunk and or high, I can't not tell you that it won't be fun.
Sounds like a good concept.
Legally, yes.
Okay. Briefly, Cycling already mentioned it. The Velocipaster. What's the guy's name? Gerald Green? No, that's an NBA player.
Almost OSU basketball player.
Yeah, right. I can't. We love you. Brendan Green. Come on the
Brendan Steer.
Brendan Steer. God,
I thought you were talking about an actor. That's why you were so off. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
You fucking sold me up the river, Cycling. You knew his name. You wouldn't throw me the goddamn.
I thought you were talking about the main character. I had no idea who you were talking about.
Blue Steel.
I hear Magnum's gonna blow us all away. The Velocipaster takes Cycling and I about 20 minutes to warm up to it, but once we get our belly buttons under the water, that's my analogy I'm gonna go with. This thing fucking goes hard in the paint. And
so what's really funny? Sorry to interrupt.
No, this is what I
actually. Because I got super obsessed and obviously was all over it on the internet and like found a Reddit thread, and he kind of did an impromptu AMA because someone mentioned his movie. And he's like, "Hey guys, that's my film. Ask me anything." And he basically said what you just said. He's like, "Now I'm not recommending you watch it drunk and or high, but it might be really fun to do that."
So it's one of the rare commentaries we're not drunk for. Cycling, I need a coffee comment.
How were we not drunk for this?
I mean, looking back on it, we fucked up. Like, we should have been.
We did. That's on us.
But I think that speaks more testaments to it. I will say this. If you don't know what to expect going in, it did take us almost half the movie to warm up to it.
The fact that we can tell you we watched it sober and literally have we just start laughing at one point in the movie for about 30 seconds solid. And I literally have tears in my eyes. Again, completely sober. Tells you everything you need to know.
I was listening to the commentary and I thought the audio cut out, and then I hear Cycling like crying again. I'm like, okay, this is just the part where Brendan Steer executes full, machismo.
And we're not the only ones. I read about that scene on the internet. Everyone felt the same way we did.
Brendan Steer, you're our great white buffalo. We're going to get you on the podcast. Again, AMC A-list plug. I saw Sonic the Hedgehog in the theaters this past weekend. Guys, it is a fucking blast, man.
So is it one of the rare instances that the internet actually helped?
I think so, yes. Because the redesign, I was very against the idea of Sega doing this. Just because I think it... Look, man, there's a lot of toxic fandom out there, and you can't have people thinking that they can just have you redo your whole movie based on a trailer. But if you love the video game, and I'm pretty sure everybody here on the pod has played it, right?
Yeah.
It steers into that. It doesn't try to be more than it is. It's not stupid. It's just fun. Great action sequences. 125 minutes, which is probably the best part of it, if I'm being honest. And at the very end, it teases a sequel with something that, as fans of the Sonic game, we all wanted to see. The theme
Tim,
song.
tell me about Jim Carrey.
He is back to mid-90s Jim Carrey, dude. They let him go full.
Wow.
I think this Dr. Robotnik is, of all his characters, probably most like Ace Ventura, the way he acts.
Nice.
And he's not in it too much to where, like, even if you don't dig Robotnik, he's probably has like 25 minutes of screen time total, which is very significant, but I was worried that he was the biggest name they had on this thing, that it would be like 90% him. It wasn't. And the Sonic theme song plays several times with like remixes of it, which is awesome. And there's a really cool scene where Sonic goes to a bar with James Marsden's character, and I'll just say hilarity ensues. Put it that way.
Right. Does he get ID'd?
No, of course not. Hedgehogs can drink at birth. It's legally allowed.
Oh, of course.
It's in the Geneva Convention.
Yeah, look it up. Last thing I'll mention, and Geiger's not on the pod to talk about it, so I'll just do my 3 bullet points solo here. The Bachelor, season 24, episode 8. All right. So Hannah Ann, this was homecoming week, guys, where Peter goes and visits the final 4 contestants' families in their hometowns. And apparently, this is the first season of The Bachelor I've ever seen, but apparently it's tradition for like the father of the girl who he has sent on a game show with 24 other women to compete for one man. It's tradition for him to grill the guy and ask how serious he is about this relationship. If that makes total sense. So Hannah Ann is one of our final 4 contestants. Her dad hates Peter. Bottom line. I think he wants his daughter to die a sexless virgin. Spoiler alert, Hannah Ann's dad. I think that dream ended sophomore year of high school. Next up, we have Kelsey. Kelsey's mom tells Peter that she's a pretty good reader of people. I just want to pose one question to Kelsey's mom. Hey, if you read people so well, didn't your ex-husband have a whole other family on the side for 6 years with 2 kids that you didn't know about?
Wow, dude, you're calling out one of our best fans. Are you kidding me?
Is she a fan of the pod, Kelsey's mom?
Absolutely.
I'll rest my case there. Last one. Glad Peter and Victoria F finally got to go to a concert where she hasn't fucked the performer that we know of. Maybe she's had sex with Hunter Hayes. I'm not sure. Because the last concert he took her to, obviously she had sex with. I can't remember the guy's name, but she admitted she fucked him at one point in their life.
Brian.
Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnsonson.
That's where I'll leave The Bachelor season 24, episode 8. Next week's episode is going to be a fucking barn burner because of the controversy of keeping Victoria F over Kelsey. For the very abridged version, guys, he got in an argument with Victoria F outside of her house. He didn't even get to go in and meet her family because of the argument, and he advanced her to the next round.
What was he thinking?
Unbelievable.
This is going to sound crazy, and feel free to shoot this down, but it's starting to make me think maybe their relationship doesn't have the legs to go the distance.
I don't know what would make you think that.
Sounds like you don't believe in true love.
Sounds like you're an atheist. What? All right. The very end of our show is our Do You Even Lift Bruh segment. Without Brian Banner, we just can't intro this as well as we used to. But this is where we pose a question that we want to leave you with as we answer it. So the question is, a little precursor here. It was announced this week that the 92nd Annual Academy Awards had a record low in television ratings, obviously since the metrics had first been tracked by Nielsen, which I believe was like late 90s. Deadline has reported that 23.6 million viewers tuned in, which apparently is a record low, even after the controversy a few years ago of not having a host and hashtag Oscars so white. This set the low bar. So we'll go around the horn. Why do you guys think this is, or really, if you have anything else still on your chest you want to get off about the Oscars, lay it out there. Cycly, we'll go to you first.
So I think this is there is Oscar-specific issues, but I think this is a general issue that we're seeing everywhere. It's the fact that we just have so much media in front of us now. We all have nothing but streaming platforms. We just talked about how much we're watching on Hulu, HBO, Netflix, Amazon.
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, of course. Yeah, well, that was the Matt in me, trying to not talk about it. So, let's talk about it like realistically. Every rating metric is going down. The NFL has gone down. The NBA it's major right now. They're struggling with ratings, not in the sense of like horrible, like, but they're down. They're having the lowest ratings ever. It is just something that I think is hitting the new generation in a different way. I think we just have so much access to whatever we wanted. Think about the 90s. What else were you doing on that Sunday night?
Like live TV in the 90s, Monday Night Football, big fucking deal.
Right now, yeah. And again, like, yes, the NFL is still the biggest game in town, but NHL, NBA, MLB is losing viewers, but so is the NFL. They're still the biggest, but they're still losing it. So I think there's something fundamental to, there's other reasons, and I know everyone else is going to get into them, but I think the biggest issue is we as a society are way more into everything else right now, whether it's social media, whether it's just getting online and reading whatever the hell we want. I personally, for me, dude, ever since we got streaming services, I hate commercials. I cannot stand them. And anytime I'm watching cable, especially only for sports, it reminds me how much I love not watching TV.
Dude, I'll have like one 20-second ad play on my Spotify, and I want to fucking bash my phone with a hammer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we are just at a point in our society where people say, why do I need to watch it? We're about to get all the clips that I missed online within 5 minutes. Actually,
just look up the winners.
Yeah, you can look up the winners online. You can get on Twitter, and 2 minutes after something happened live, it will be online.
Or the NBA draft before the picks announced, it's on Twitter.
Or MLB, who the world champion is going to be if they have the right trash can sounds. So it's all great. Like you don't need to do it. I don't know. So for me, it's a combination of like society's changing, and that's the struggle for shows like the Oscars. You know what? It's funny. 24 million is still a fuck ton of people, and it's still probably the second most watched thing on TV after the Super Bowl. But everyone is getting hit in this area, and you know what? People got to adapt. So I know you guys are going to hit on the other areas, but I think that's the most major play in what's impacting the Oscars.
Very well said. Nate?
Yeah, I really didn't have an opinion on what may have caused this. Cycly's point is...
Did you like the Oscars? Like, did you get to watch it live?
No, and that's the funny thing is I don't always watch all the Oscars, and I literally watched all 3 hours of this front to end. I know, which is random, which is kind of the reason I struggled to kind of get an answer for this is because I was the minority. I'm someone who normally doesn't watch it. And
but
I
if
watched
you
it.
you're the guy that they need to get every year, right?
Yeah. Which that wouldn't help because I'm just inconsistent. There's no telling what I'm going to do the next day.
Was there? I'm a fucking wild card.
I'm a wild card. You don't want to bet on me.
You're a coxman. Was there anything about this Oscars like premeditated that you were like, you know what? I kind of want to watch this one this Sunday night.
Not really. I just didn't have anything else going on at the time. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's not.
Congrats, Oscars.
There's not a lot of thought into it. But no, I mean.
But that's the problem. How do you beat that if you're a marketing person for the Oscars? Like it's a random thing our generation is doing when we decide to watch something or not.
And that's why what Cycle was saying, there's a lot to that. There's a lot of stock in that because I found myself watching live sports and all of a sudden I'll just switch over to some streaming service and then I'll come back to the live sports, but I can pick up where I left off and things like that. So it's a really interesting time. So I don't know if ratings are going to hold as much stock going forward because they really do not mean as much as they did back in the early aughts or the 90s.
I'll ask you, and this is an honest question. If any of you know this, please tell me. How do ratings account for like DVR? Like if I were to just DVR the Oscars, obviously not watch it live, do you know if Nielsen is able to track that? I'm sure there's maybe a different metric.
They can, but I think it's like a separate rating, and it does take like 24 hours or 48 hours to get those numbers in. They do account for them later on, but they have to differentiate between the live viewers and then just the streaming viewers, which would be the total.
Because to Nate's
point...
But doesn't... Oh. I'm sorry, no, go cycling.
Please. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so this is not an apples to apples, but Nate has really gotten me into Jeopardy. I watch every single day's episode. It might be a few days later, but I skip through all the commercials. The Oscars, if I'm Nate Thurmond, who's seen probably 75 movies this past year and all the top picture contenders, I want to know who wins. I don't want to watch all the bullshit. In fact, you probably skip like all the songs in between. So,
yeah,
you watched it live this year, sort of impulsively, but if you have other streaming services and like 3 shows on HBO that you want to fucking watch,
Yeah.
you're interested, you're still in the target demo, but you're not going to watch it live. So how do they still like? It's not like they've lost you, but you're definitely like it's not appointment television anymore, which it may never be again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, the
think
whole
for me
format
too,
of the Oscars may change over the next couple years. I don't know what it'll look like, but with all the services we have now available, there may be something that completely is a game changer, and it may look completely different.
But can I say really quickly, what the Oscars has, they obviously recognize some of the things we're talking about. So they are focused now more on shortening the show, right? That you can see it. They're, they're trying to make it a full 3 hours. It used to go, I remember when I was a kid, it went to past 11.
I couldn't stay up to watch all of it.
Yeah. But what I want to say really quickly, and I know I'm speaking a lot about it, but they literally shut off the fucking best movie winners. But yet they give us 18 performances of random ass songs. Look, I love Eminem more than anyone, and I love "Lose Yourself" is one of the greatest songs of all time. But really, you're gonna tell me we get a song from 16 years ago, but yet the people who won Best Movie get cut off in 30 seconds.
Right.
Their priorities. I understand where they're coming up with the idea, but they got to figure out no, I would rather see Parasite deserve to be talked about.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Eminem and give him more screen time, I have no problem with that. But figure that out. We're here to watch the best movies, not watch all these musical introductions and stuff like that. But sorry.
I got too much pomp. I'll say 2 things really briefly. One is just about where I think the Oscars needs to go. And Geiger brought this up before, and maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but we are not that far away, I don't think, from like a Netflix award show where it's live and you're voting for the winners on Netflix that night. You pick it, click, boom, and then they come out and read the winner. That's coming soon, I don't think. Also, the Oscars need to adapt, and I will give them credit. They have in a few ways. They've changed up the diversity of the Academy. I think that's inherently reflected in some of the winners the past few years. Still has a ways to go. But I still, when you watch it, I'm not seeing, and I don't want to be inundated with this or beat over the head, but I don't feel like there's a social media presence. I don't feel like it's hashtag this is trending. At least when I watch Big Brother on CBS in the summer, if someone gets in an argument with someone else, they'll just put really subtly, bottom right corner, hashtag Chris and Kelsey fight. You don't see any of that shit with the Oscars, which, again, might not be the difference in viewership, but if you want to make it more accessible, go for it. Another thing, I think this is very short-term gains, because I think this year was a good year for the show. Parasite winning so much is a good sign. Mm-hmm. I think the no host thing works, dude. I don't think we need to go back to it. So
yeah,
I think next year it'll trend up. But so you remember that popular film category that they were going to have, and they got rid of it?
Yeah.
I'll say this, and I will completely admit I am very biased, but in a year that a movie sets the all-time box office record and is a culmination of 22 films in Avengers Endgame, and it doesn't even get mentioned fucking once, they need something more accessible. Even if it is pandering to us, you need a popular film category.
Yeah.
We need Avengers Endgame. And, dude, I don't give a fuck. Jumanji needs to be... The movies that people go to actually see need to have some representation. And if you have to pander to them to get them to watch your 3-hour show, it's worth it.
Don't call it best movie. That's fine.
That's fine.
I'm not saying it's the best movie.
Right. I'm not trying to say that Avengers... I told you this. My top 5 is eclectic. It has Endgame and Parasite. Parasite is the best picture of the year. But Avengers Endgame set the all-time box office record, and it was up for a visual effects award. That was pretty much all the mention it got. Give it its due. It can only be 7 minutes. I want to see the Russo brothers come up and speak, and then it's fucking over with. But at least then, think how many people you're bringing into the show who are probably going to stick around or forget to change the channel.
What? Yeah, exactly. Why does Best Song nominee get a full, all 5 nominees gets the full amount of time to play their song? That's not necessary. That takes 20 minutes. 5 songs? That's insane.
Also, Renee Zellweger, get help.
Okay, that was bad.
She freaks me out every time I see her now.
I didn't know she was Southern.
I don't think she knows she's Southern.
That's a manufactured accent.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what?
And she scares me because her biceps are very large these days.
I know I know Joaquin Phoenix has he's always out there with the speeches, but I texted Horns right after. I was like, you know what? At least his speech made sense, whether you agree with it or not. I have no idea still to this moment what Renee Zellweger was talking about.
Nate, you'll appreciate this. I don't know if you got to listen to the last episode, but Geiger says that her speech was like that deleted scene from Wedding Crashers, where Vince Vaughn is talking to Isla Fisher and relating people that have nothing to do with each other to sleep with her. He goes, Harry Potter, Nat King Cole, your mother, the whore on the street.
The whore on the street. Harry Potter, if he existed.
If he existed, yeah. That was like Renee Zellweger's fucking speech. I was like, who are you going to name next?
She thought she was saying something deep.
Do you think she's still up there talking and just the lights have been turned off?
It's bullshit. They didn't stop her. She talked for 4 minutes and Parasite got 30 seconds. Get the fuck out of here.
Also, I want to have a zillion beers with Bong Joon-ho. That's mine.
Oh my god.
And
please.
I'll do the beer Bong Joon-ho with him.
Nice.
All right, before we leave the people on episode 104 of the Bro Force Squad podcast, Nate, any parting words of wisdom? Do you have a Witcher spell you want to cast? Does he do that? Does he do spells?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything specifically that he verbalizes, but there are spells that he can do control. But
Wingardium Leviosa.
Wingardium Leviosa, yes. Just remember to get your pet spayed and neutered.
I feel like someone else said, maybe not.
No, that's my trademark.
Oh, shit.
Don't check it.
Cycling, how about you?
Yeah, really important PSA. Gin fucking sucks. Don't run out of vodka, kids. I can't believe I resorted to drinking gin tonight.
Gin is class, though.
It's awful.
Go listen to our Rogue One commentary. The very beginning of it, you'll get a gin reference.
That is a good one.
All right, for the American hero, Nate Thurmond, and our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys for checking us out. Follow us on Twitter at Bro Force Squad. Take those 3 words, Bro Force Squad, and type them into Letterboxd, iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, or pretty much anywhere you look up podcasts, and subscribe to us there. And also, if you have the internet handy, when you're done looking at porn, go check us out at broforcesquad.com. Till next time, we'll catch you later. The Wingardium Leviosa, what does that spell actually do?
Makes things float.
Yeah, levitates things. Nerds.
Like your dick.